so that we don't keep people waiting any longer, I'd like to introduce Lison Mage. She is an author, a corporate facilitator, and a high-performance coach. She works primarily with technology companies to elevate engagement, improve well-being, and increase performance by providing their leaders and teams with practical and science-based strategies and tools to foster cognitive diversity and enhance the decision-making processes. I will hand it over to you, Lison.
Thank you, Matt. I'm really thrilled to be here with you guys with Equal Partner now. And I can see that people are coming from Australia, New Zealand, Portugal, France, I think also Cape Town, Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, wow, India. I'm thrilled. I love that because, you know, when we talk about cognitive diversity, as Matt mentioned, it's also coming from different culture, different starting point when we make decision. So, oh, Manchester, Netherlands, love it. And today we will talk about overthinking. So I recently published my book, Act Before You Overthink. I'm just, yes, having some. Yeah. Yes, I'm back. So, and it took me a year of intensive research to publish this book, interviewing over 365 people worldwide from more than 33 countries. And people were aged from 17 years old to 65 years old. And most of them, they were in the middle age range. And I came up with the conclusion that everybody can overthink. Maybe you are doing it. Maybe someone in your team is going through it. And what I learned from a year of research is that when we overcome this toxic habit, we feel liberated. Our well-being increases. We sleep better. We are less stressed, and our relationships improve at home and at work. And we make better decisions faster. And we have more efficient teams that are more engaged and more cohesive. And I'm not going to go through the hundreds of studies listed in the bibliography of the book. I want this event to be entertaining, to be fun. And to do this, we will play some games. And obviously, these games are rooted in psychology and behavioral science study, topics that I'm obsessed with. And those games will highlight key elements about overthinking. So remember, we will learn and have fun at the same time. And to spice things up, the winners of the game will get a free copy of my book, Act Before You Overthink. And for the winners, guys, make sure that you coordinate with Matthew to get your address for him to be able to ship the book your way. How does that sound, guys? Is it good? Are you excited? Tap yes in the chat if you want to play some games to win books. Yes, Pam, Lindsay, Matthew, Neil. Yes, yes, yes. Even some people talking French. That's great. Lara, Zoom user. Arno. So guys, if we can't have your real name, make sure that if you win the book, we know who you are, because Zoom user is going to be difficult for us to ship the book to you. So Marianne, Kinga, Slade, perfect. So now, to make sure that everyone know how to interact with the chat and answer poll question, let's practice a bit. Which of the following statements is true? Which of the following statement about me is a lie? So it's more about a lie. Which one is a lie? Did I do 27 skydiving jumps? Or when I was a kid, did I teach my dog to find truffles in the garden? Or did I almost die from paludism in Africa when I was 1 year old? So which of the following statements is a lie? So you can choose your answer by clicking on it in the poll section. Okay, now guys, you can choose your answer in the poll section. Thank you for the Zoom user to reveal your identity. Welcome, Adam. So which one is a lie? Do we have everyone answer it? All good? Okay, so what's the result? Please, let's finish the poll. And the answer, so we had most of you guys think that I didn't do 27 skydiving jumps, so 46%. So that's wrong. In fact, I did jump 27 times from a plane. Yes, I did that. So the answer is that I tried to teach my dog to find truffle by adding some piece of cheese in the garden, but he was terrible at it. I literally had to stand a few centimeters away from the piece of cheese for him to find it. So that was a fun experiment, but not really conclusive. So by now, hopefully everyone knows how to answer the poll. And just before we get started, let me introduce myself a bit more seriously. So obviously, even if I say that I was from Brisbane in the chat, I have a strong French accent. So I graduated in France with a master's degree in IT and electronics. I expatriated twice, once in China, where I worked for 3 years, and then I moved to Australia, where I have been living for the last 6 years. And I got my Australian citizenship last year too, and now I am a dual citizen. And obviously, I am really proud of this. After working for some of the largest IT companies in the world, like Salesforce and Oracle, I made a big career shift 4 years ago and started my own practice. I now train and facilitate workshops in corporate. I also deliver keynote speeches at corporate events and conferences, and I coach executive and team leaders on performance and decision making. And most recently, I published my first book on overthinking after more than a year of research. So now we will talk about my research finding presented in the book, Act Before You Overthink, and we will see how we can overcome this toxic habit of overthinking, which, by the way, is very strong with analytical minds in the technology industry. So are you ready, guys, for this? Type yes if you're ready for this. Perfect. Yeah, that was just a warm-up, guys. Wow, you are on fire. So after interviewing more than 365 overthinkers for my research, I found some common patterns, some common beliefs about overthinking, and they are misconceptions. There are myths about overthinking that we have about overthinking. So during this talk, we will uncover the 3 biggest myths about overthinking and how they impact us. So one thing that I've heard again and again about overthinking is how it can benefit overthinker. So in some ways, overthinkers believe that overthinking is good for them because it makes them think better. And that's the first myth we will address. So quick question for you. Who has binge watched a complete Netflix series on a stormy Saturday night? At the end of every episode, there is this big cliffhanger and we want to know what is next. So you end up watching one more episode and another one until you watch the full series. So who has done that? You can raise your hand in front of your camera or say yes, me in the chat if you recognize yourself here. So too many times, all too often, yes, okay. And maybe guys, if it was not a series, Maybe you could not stop from reading a book. I remember reading Harry Potter as a teenager, and I could simply not stop. My parents would call me for dinner, but I was stuck in my bed reading. I could barely go to the toilet, or I would go with a book. I wanted to know what happened next, and that was all there was in my mind. So who experienced this kind of feeling? Yes? Like you cannot stop because you want to know what is happening. And and who has been caught up either, in the book or in a complete Netflix series. Okay, so perfect. Thank you guys for recognizing, most of you guys. And now another question for you. Who has ever worked on the weekend to complete a project or a presentation? It's Saturday morning, and yes, you are up early to finish the slide deck for the customer presentation that has been bugging you the whole week. Or maybe if it was not over the weekend, it was an all-nighter during the week in front of your computer, crushing numbers for your quarterly report. Guilty as charged, Your Honor. Yes. So I refuse to work overtime, but no longer I refuse. Trying to change. So it's funny to see the spectrum here. Some people made some decisions, some they are on their way to progress. Yes, only by exception though. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. And now, who can tell me what binge watching Netflix and working all night long have in common? One is fun, one is less fun. But what do they have in common? Binge watching Netflix and working all night long. Commitment, adrenaline, focus, inability to stop, hyper-focus. Not able to stop. Yes, Fiona. We have a need for closure, a need to complete, to finish something. And this need for closure is what leads us to a kind of overthinking. And so psychologist Maria Osinka studied this behavior. She demonstrated that when a task is interrupted or simply unfinished, it will cause intrusive thoughts, pushing us to complete the job. And with these intrusive thoughts, we fail to detach from the unfinished task. We are unable to relax. And ultimately, we end up working late at night or during the weekend. It's like our brain is an internet browser, opening new tabs for every task we have to complete and consuming a bit more of our mental bandwidth. And closing the tabs by completing the tasks free our minds and make us feel better. But there are more complex tabs, like a project, which might open dozens of tabs at the same time, monopolizing our mental resources. And it becomes the only thing we can think about. And this creates an urge to solve in order to get closure. So who can see their tab in their minds and how finishing one task allows them to close it? Anyone can see themselves here? Like sometimes, you are in front of your computer, maybe your loved one is coming, but, or even like you are during the weekend at a social event and it's difficult maybe to detach from something that is happening because you can only think about whatever project or whatever. Anyway, so remember, I said that we're going to play some games. So now we are going to play the first game. It's more like kind of an enigma or a puzzle to solve. And the first one to find the solution wins a free copy of my book, Act Before You Overthink. So we have matches. We have thumbtacks, and a candle. And now, how would you fix and light the candle on a wall with a cork board so that the candle wax won't drip onto the table? First one to give me an answer wins a book. There is one book to win for the first one to solve this enigma. Tell me in the chat, how would you do that? So you have matches, thumbtacks, candle. And the purpose is to fix and light the candle on the wall and make sure that the wax won't. So Pam, put candle in a box and tack to wall. Tack. Yeah, I think Pam is good. Yeah, Pam is the winner. So that's right. We will empty the box of thumbtacks or whatever, of one box. And we put the candle in it, we light it up, and we will use a few thumbtacks to attach it to the wall. So congratulations, round of applause for Pam. So Pam, make sure, yes, you give to Matthew your details, so you can get the book going your way. I love it. Everyone is congratulating Anchor, Adam, and Fiona. Love it. I love to see that. So the game that we just played is a cognitive performance test created by the psychologist Carl Juncker in 1945. So some people will try to thumbtack the candle directly to the wall. Great idea, but it's not gonna work. The wax is gonna drop on the floor. Some people light a match, melt the sign on the candle, try to stick it to the wall. Great idea, but again, doesn't work. And eventually, people like Pam, and more of you guys found the solution, but Pam was the first one, find the solution, which is empty the box of thumbtacks, place a candle in it, and stick the box to the wall with a few thumbtacks. And to find the solution, it requires us to overcome what is called functional blindness. Functional blindness means that we only see one usage for one object. In this example, we only see the thumbtacks box as a recipient for the thumbtacks and not as a support for the candle. So it's the literal application of thinking outside of the box. And there is a most interesting thing that happened a bit later. So in 1962, the psychologist and professor at Princeton University in Glucksberg replicated this experiment, but he added a twist. He had two groups doing the test. So the members of the first group were told their performance would be timed to establish norm and averages. So they had little or no pressure to perform. But the members of the second group were told that they would win a financial reward based on how fast they could solve this enigma. Now, who do you think performed better on the candle test? The group with no incentive or the group with incentive? Tell me in the chat. With incentive, no incentive. So the group with time box, with incentive, incentive, with no incentive, with no incentive, with time box, no incentive. Yeah, we have a mix. We have a good mix. So the group with no incentive outperformed the other group. It took on average 3.5 minutes longer for the group with incentive to complete the task. So how is it possible? We all intuitively know that when people are incentivized, they have better results. At least companies believe it. And that's why you have bonuses based on performance. So how comes a group without incentive perform better? And that's a key element that often shocks managers when I facilitate workshops on team performance. They think you must have incentives to improve results. But in this case, this is not true. Yeah, Catalina, you're right. So why did the group without incentive perform better? When we want to problem solve a difficult or a complex issue, we need to use our creative thinking. And to use our creative thinking, we need to use both our divergent thinking and our convergent thinking. So first, we use our divergent thinking. For instance, we brainstorm and we look for possible solutions, even the weird ones. Then we use convergent thinking to check if one of the solutions we thought of actually works. But if we struggle to find a solution and complete the task, and if we have this need for closure, remember the Netflix, the weekend, if we have this need for closure, or maybe, I don't know if you saw, but which group were you when we had this game and you had not really a financially, like a financial reward, but like you had a reward to win. So you were on this group, right? And when we have this need for closure, it is amplifying external stressors, such, financial incentives or deadlines, and it will narrow our focus. It's like we wear blinkers and we keep on doing the same thing, hoping this will solve things. In this state, we suffer from an excess of convergent thinking. And an excess of convergent thinking is a type of overthinking. Imagine, you are in the front of your house and you try to open the door with a key. This is the first turn of the key, and that is using your convergent thinking, and then it doesn't work. But there is an issue. You are late. You forget your wallet inside of the house in the living room. You need to pick it up right now. Otherwise, you will miss your bus and be late for an important meeting. Stress kicks in. And instead of looking for other keys to open the door, you keep on trying with the same key again and again and again. You turn it again and again. And we hope somehow it will open the door. And that's an excess of convergent thinking. And this is a type of overthinking. In this state, we cannot use our divergent thinking anymore. We are wearing blinkers and we cannot think of other solutions than the ones we already tried. And this kind of overthinking prevents us from making association between remote concepts. It prevents us from thinking outside the box. It disrupted our divergent thinking. We cannot imagine other usage for the same type box. We are blindsided. We cannot think that it could be used for something else than being a recipient for the same tax. And that's a big issue. Because when we cannot use our divergent thinking, we cannot be creative. So overthinking is impairing our creative thinking. And through my interviews with overthinkers, I discovered that this first myth of overthinking, where most people believe that their overthinking enhances their thinking, like when they overthink, this is actually good for them. It makes them think better. But here, in this example, we clearly see this is false. Overthinking is impairing our thinking. It impairs our creative thinking, and it also impairs our analytical thinking, our critical thinking, our memory, and a few other cognitive abilities. So overthinking makes our thinking worse. And in fact, we think better when we are not overthinking. All right, so we just finished the first myth on overthinking, 2 more to go. Is everybody still good to go? And yes, if you have any question, we will have some time at the end to answer any question that you have. So give me a bit of energy in the chat, tap yes if you are still ready to go. So yes, Ash is ready to go, perfect. So now, second myth of overthinking. So most people, they told me, okay, Lison, I understand that overthinking is impairing my thinking, but it's inconsequential to me. Meaning that, okay, they understand it's not ideal, but it's fine. They can live their life like that. It's not a big deal. And so to address this myth, we will answer a series of 3 questions. So 3 polls to answer. Let's get ready, go into the poll. So let's start. Question number 1. Which of the following statements is true? Overthinking causes emotion such as stress, anxiety, and excessive worry. Answer B. Overthinking amplifies the intensity of emotion such as stress, anxiety, and excessive worry. Answer C. Overthinking increases the duration of emotions such as stress, anxiety, and excessive worry. Answer D. All the above, meaning overthinking causes, amplifies the intensity, and increases the duration of negative emotions such as stress, anxiety, and excessive worry. So which of the statements is true? A, B, C, or D? Guys, the answer should be in the poll. And that's right. 95% got it right. Congrats, guys. D, that's right. Overthinking causes, amplifies the intensity, and increase the duration of negative emotions such as stress, anxiety, and excess of worries. And there are more than 200 scientific studies highlighting the negative effect of overthinking. So when we address overthinking, we can reduce the negative effect of stress and anxiety, and it will immediately raise your well-being. And many studies prove that teams perform better when their members mentally and physically thrive. So obviously, there are less sick days. But beyond this, our communication and collaboration skills naturally improve when we feel good, and it creates a positive dynamic. Now, let's go. Question number 2. Which of the following statements is true? Answer A. Overthinkers are less likely to suffer from depression than non-overthinkers. Answer B. Overthinkers are as likely to suffer from depression than non-overthinkers. Answer C. Overthinkers are 2 times more likely to suffer from depression than non-overthinkers. Answer D. Overthinkers are 4 times more likely to suffer from depression than non-overthinkers. So which of the statements is true? A, B, C, or D? And the answer is D. That's the most shocking statistic. So yes, 63% of you guys found it right. And that's the most shocking statistic I found during my research. Overthinkers are 4 times more likely to suffer from depression than non-overthinkers. That's a lot, 4 times. And the final question, guys, question number 3. What should you do if you catch yourself overthinking? Answer A. Tell yourself, just stop thinking about this. Answer B. Repress the emotion this generates. Bottle up everything and say, I'm fine, nothing to see here. Answer C. Force yourself to be positive. There are worse things happening and we should be happy no matter what. Answer D. Act. So what should you do when you catch yourself overthinking? Is it answer A, B, C, or D? And before I give the answer about this one, let's think together about this for a minute. If you or your loved one had a behavior that increased by 4 their chances to get into a car accident, wouldn't you do everything you could to prevent and stop this behavior? Who would do everything they could to prevent this from happening? You would not tell yourself, oh, stop thinking about it. That's nothing really. 4 times more risk to get into a car crash. Just don't think about it. And if you repress, the anxiety, the fear, the stress it generates, well, this is no good. It's like trying to maintain a beach volleyball underwater. We push it, so we are fighting against it coming back to the surface. But when we have no more strength in our arms, what happens? The ball, the beach volleyball, doesn't calmly come back to the surface. It bursts out of the water. And that's the same with suppressing our emotions. Finally, would you just force yourself to smile and be happy, telling yourself that you need to be positive and that's okay? Obviously not. That's called toxic positivity, by the way. So the answer to question 3 is answer D. When we catch ourselves overthinking, we need to act. We need to act, guys. Yes, 91% found it. Perfect. That's great. So overthinking being without consequences for us is just false. Overthinking has consequences. We need to do something about overthinking. This is not fine. This won't go away with time. Overthinking is toxic for us. And this has strong consequences for our mental health, for our physical health, and also for our sense of identity and personal growth. So we need to act upon our overthinking. And obviously, it is even best if we act before we overthink. So now we are doing a lucky draw. And Guy is gonna mention the name in the chat of who is winning the book. So who is the lucky draw winner for this? Victoria Froment. You have to write it in for everyone, please, because I think you sent it on it. Okay. So Victoria Froment is a second winner. Perfect. So that was the second miss. Now, other overthinker, that I interviewed told me that they knew overthinking was bad for them, but they still felt kind of trapped when it comes to decision making. Like, it's like a curse. Like they told me, oh, Lison, when I make a decision, I'm cursed. I have to overthink my decision. So they could simply not avoid overthinking their decision. And that is our third myth. Overthinking is inevitable in decision making. And to address this last myth, we will first play a famous game, and that is widely used in the game theory. It's a mathematical approach to study and improve decision making. So now I need 2 volunteers. And by the way, the winner of this game wins a free book, Act Before You Overthink. So I need 2 volunteers. Just say me in the chat. We need 2 volunteers. So, okay, stop. So we have enough. Yeah, what's your name? 30182. And then we have Marianne. Marianne, and please, could you put your name like 308182 in the chat? Adam. So yes, Adam and Marianne. So you are the guys that are going to play. So please, no one else can write into the chat. Only Adam and Marianne are able to write into the chat. So how do we play this game? So it's a turn-by-turn game. So every turn, Adam and Marianne can choose either to betray or cooperate with their counterpart. So they have to write in the chat what they want to do. So Adam, Marianne, if you can either say C for cooperate or B for betray, or cooperate and betray. Just be ready because you're going to use those two words for the next few minutes. So every turn, Adam and Marianne will write in the chat whether they choose to cooperate or to betray the other. Now, if Paul and, no, not Paul, Adam and Marianne decide to betray each other, they both lose 1 point. If Adam and Marianne decide to cooperate with each other, they both win 1 point. Now, if one of them decides to betray while the other is cooperating, the person who betrayed wins 2 points and the one who cooperated loses 2 points. So the person with the most points, so whether Marianne or Adam get more points, is the person that is going to win the book. Now, to make things a bit more spicy, I need someone else that will choose a number between 3 and 5. So it's going to be Matthew. Matthew, please, in your head, don't write it into the chat. You choose a number between 3 and 5. And that's going to be the number of turns that we are going to play. So if Matthew chooses 3, he's going to say stop into the chat. If Matthew chooses 4, so when we did 4 turns of this game, he's going to say stop. And if it's 5, he's going to say stop. So we don't know really how many turns we're going to play this game, right? Only Matthew knows. And so I guess I explained all the rules. So Adam, Marianne, is it clear for you guys? You can say yes into the chat if it's clear. Yes, yes, perfect. So please get ready. So we will need to make sure that you synchronize. So you have to make sure that you press enter at the same time. So please write whether you're going to cooperate or betray each other. And when I say 1, 2, 3, you press enter. Let's try. Decide whether you choose cooperate or betray. And now 1, 2, 3. Okay, so Marianne, you need to be faster. So Adam +2 and Marianne -2. Again, so that was the first turn. Get ready. Decide for the second turn. Betray or cooperate. Get ready. 1, 2, 3. Yes, Marianne cooperates, Adam betray. So Adam +4, Marianne -4. Okay, third turn, sorry. 1, 2, 3. Adam betraying, Marianne cooperating. No, oh no, you are not playing. So Adam +6, Marianne -6. Okay, so that was the third one. So now we go to the first turn. Get ready, Marianne and Adam. 1, 2, 3, go. Marianne betray, stop, and we stop. So Matthew say we had 4 turns. So Adam is +5 and Marianne is -7. So a round of applause for both of them. They were courageous to come to play to this game. And congrats for Adam. Adam, please make sure you give your data to Matthew to get the book your way. So guys, that was a complex game, right? There were many unknowns, like what will the other person choose? And we also didn't know how many turns we're gonna play these games, right? When Matthew is gonna stop us, we don't know. So now I'm asking everyone, like, what were you thinking? Did you come up with like a specific reasoning or strategy to win? Like Marianne, Adam, you can share as well, or anyone, like, and most importantly, did you overthink this a bit? No strategy, I just prefer to cooperate. I choose to betray. Oh, thank you. I played this game before where it was team building exercise where cooperating was rewarded, definitely not in this case. Oh, Shazia. In fact, I'm going to explain a bit further about that one. So I try to choose cooperate, yeah. So the game we played is called the Prisoner Dilemma. And it is a really famous game from the game theory and how to make complex decisions. And so mathematicians found a way to maximize our chance of winning when you play a random number of turns. So what should you do? First, you have to be nice. So yes, start by cooperating, right? Because when you meet someone in the street for the first time, you are starting by being nice. You say hi, you smile. You're not like throwing stuff at each other's face, right? But if the other party abuses this, doesn't replicate, and not playing nice, you also have to be willing to retaliate. You cannot always be Mr. or Mrs. Nice. So the second one is retaliate. And lastly, you have to be willing to forgive. So I didn't say forget, I said forgive. Because otherwise you are gonna like betray each other, and that's like going nowhere. So you have to forgive all grudges and move on. You have to offer a way out. You have to offer peace. So this is good to win at the Prisoner's Dilemma game, but this is also good in life when we make decisions. So mathematicians came up with this process. It's a 3-step process to maximize our chance of winning the Prisoner Dilemma game. So we have a process, 3 steps: be nice, retaliate, and forgive, to guide us through our decisions. And, if I gave you this process before starting the game, maybe it would have been easier, right, to play the game. Your decision would have been easier because you would have been able to rely on this 3-step process. Having processes is one of the mental models we can use to improve our decisions and not to overthink them. And you already know that, and you're already using it, maybe unconsciously. It's like, for example, in companies, when you hire someone, you have a hiring process you go through to help you make a decision about which candidate to hire. Am I hiring candidate A or candidate B? It's designed to help you not to overthink and make good decisions. And by the way, if you are still hesitating between candidate A or candidate B, I would recommend review your process, because processes are there to ease your decision making and not to overthink. And that's really a point I really like to discuss when I run workshops in companies, that if your process isn't making your decision easier and faster, then you don't have the right process. And you see, during my interviews for my book, it became clear that overthinking believed they could not get rid of their overthinking, especially when they have to make decisions. And in the case of the Prisoner Dilemma, you don't have to overthink. You have a process, a system to apply that guarantees you the best possible outcome. Systems can be applied to ourselves to make decisions easier and not to overthink them. Overthinking can be avoided. And there are indeed other mental models we can use when making decisions, and more into the book if you are interested in that. So by the way, the last 3 chapters of the book are on decision making. So overthinking is evitable when making decisions. And so now, I love to ask weird and strange questions. Who can tell me why there is a yellow balloon on the front cover of my book? Why did I use a balloon there? Do you have any ideas? Obviously, there is the answer in the book, but maybe some of you can guess it. Pop? Yes, I like to pop. Feel light? Yes. Lighten your mind. It needs to be popped. Balloons. Yeah, love it. So yeah, that for me, in fact, each of the myths that we talked about, so the 3 myths, are represented by a balloon. So when I did my interview, I realized that if people scale high on overthinking, they carry those 3 balloons. They carry the 3 biggest myths of overthinking. So they are high in overthinking. And when we start to let go of those myths, when we start to let go of those balloons, we start to get out of this dark cloud, and where we could feel stressed, anxious, have insomnia, and the list goes on. But, when we let go of the balloons, we are getting out of the dark cloud and we are getting grounded. And in the end, we can feel relaxed, appeased, and blissful. So normally I like to give everyone a balloon and ask them to pop it. So that's why, guys, you understand that. Yes. So that was my book launch in Brisbane in Australia. And you can see everyone popping their balloon at the end. So it's symbolic, right? It shows that we are taking action to conquer our overthinking. So they are popping the balloon. So imagine you are popping the balloon, but because unfortunately, we cannot do that during an online event. But still, I would like to invite you to write in the chat, what will you do today to overcome overthinking? What action can you take now, not tomorrow? Email me a balloon, Clarence. Love it. First time somebody saying me that. Yeah, you know what? Maybe with technology we can get there in a few years. You never know. I can email a balloon. So what action can you take now? Not next week, but today. Yeah, close all tabs, act. I just need to act more, be more conscious. Yeah. Tied up, loose ends. I'm going to make an order list of things I need to do, find the pin and pop the balloon. And if you are not an overthinker, what can you do to help an overthinker? Maybe it can be a relative, it can be a colleague, it can be a teammate. What could you do today to help them? So, yeah, and Christmas is coming. A book is a great gift for Christmas. Because offer your book for Christmas, you see, yeah. And I love seeing you make them aware of the consequences. Yeah, that's a good one. Raising self-awareness is a good one for overthinker. Yeah, set up some processes. Yes. Can you make a YouTube video on this? Oh, Hinraya, I've made lots of YouTube videos. So, you can Google my name. I'm very easy to find. I've made a lot. And I'm going to make more on decision making because I'm obsessed with decision making. So I'm developing a new series on decision making with a big cliffhanger at the end of each video so that you need the closure and you need to watch the second one. I'm joking. So, yeah. And now we love your feedback, please. So take some time to fill the survey about this online experience. So you have to scan this QR code or the link will appear in the chat. So that's the link. You can complete the survey here. So just share your feedback. I always love to know what people like about this experience, anything like you like to improve. And as well, if you like to keep in touch with me, you can add me on LinkedIn or you can tick the box. I send a newsletter every 2 weeks. So if you tick the box, then you will be able to start receiving my newsletter. Hopefully it's going to be of service and of value because I know it's a privilege to be into people inbox nowadays. So I'm really conscious of that. And hopefully you will like the insights that I'm sharing in the newsletter. And once you finish completing this online survey, you know what? We can start the Q&A. So Matthew maybe can help me with understanding where are the questions, if some questions are popping as well in the Q&A section.
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in.
Yeah.
So I guess in reference to, and I'm sure it's a number of the people in the audience coming from our communities, specifically for engineers to make engineering decisions, have you got any sort of tips or guidance in their domain?
So you mean, because engineer is a very wide area as well, because I myself have a background in IT and electronics, but you have as well like civil engineer, like mechanical engineer. But what I like to talk about for engineers, and I'm gonna open my book because by the way, I know that people can be visual in learning, and there is something that engineer needs to be aware of, and it's coming from a microeconomic principle, and it's called the law of diminishing returns. So can you see the book? Can you see the slide on the book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, perfect. So the law of diminishing return means that most people, they will gather information, and in fact, they don't know when to stop. They don't know when it's enough. But what's important for engineers to be aware of is that the value of information that you are gathering at some stage, the value of the information that you are gathering is diminishing. There is no need for you to gather more information, right? So that's the one. I think, I try to make it simple. So for engineers, make sure that when you are consuming information, when you look at all the details, that at some stage you don't need to open 10 tabs about maybe one topic. You need to know when to stop about gathering information, because otherwise you can also fall into analysis paralysis, and then you get stuck.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll go to the next one. What's some indicators of overthinking? How do you spot it?
Yeah. So it's about, you have different ones, but as mentioned, it's like if you feel stress, anxious, like a situation that really, so you have different type of overthinkers. So you have I have 6 different types that I talk in my book, and you have 2 main types: analytical overthinkers or emotional overthinkers. For example, emotional overthinkers, they will have this fear of rejection, of not feeling of not belonging or dying alone, and so they could overthink social interaction. For example, this one that is highlighted in my book, someone is willing to offer a gift to a friend, and maybe for 3 months, this person is like overthinking about what gift would please this friend, because they don't want to be rejected in their friendship. So that's like an example. Could you repeat the question, please?
Just the indicators that we can look out for.
Yeah. So what else? Another one, especially for analytical overthinkers. So this one was very, very recurring in my interviews. This one, so people can maybe recognize themselves. Who can recognize themselves here? So maybe it's like whatever time in the middle of the night, and then you wake up and maybe you have to finish something. So that's also a sign that overthinking is at play, because you have this need for closure. And you can also go through negative work rumination. So that can happen for professionals that can't detach.
Awesome. I think it was interesting. It came through when you were talking about the sort of the divergent and convergent thinking, and that sort of becoming creative thinking. Is there a downside to overthinking divergently and not getting to that convergent part of it?
Yes. It's all about having a balance, Matthew, like about action and thinking. So if you spend too much time diverging, ultimately you're not getting things done, like you're not doing anything. So you won't progress in life, and you can stagnate, and ultimately you can even regress, because time is passing by, and so that's hindering your sense of identity, your personal growth. Yeah. So
Yep.
that's yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. One question that came in through the chat from Michael was, does overthinking cause depression, or does depression cause overthinking?
Yeah. So that's a chicken and egg situation. They are linked. It's Yeah, it's a chicken and egg. So both, like depression can cause overthinking and overthinking can cause depression.
Yep, that makes sense. And then I think there's a statement or a question. One of my family member thinks too much even when buying very small things for the household. We end up not buying the item at all after she spends months thinking about it. How do I let her know when to stop? She spends too much time analyzing.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I interviewed IT director in Australia, and he shared this with me. He wanted to buy a motorcycle, and so he started to create an Excel spreadsheet, with all the criteria that he wanted in the motorcycle, compare all the different models of the motorcycle. And he was talking to his wife, about this motorcycle, his colleague, that he wanted to buy a motorcycle weeks by weeks by weeks by weeks. And like 6 months later, his wife bought him a motorcycle. She had enough of him playing with this Excel spreadsheet and talking all the time. So that's how it ended. So I don't know, it's like maybe, this IT person could have bought this motorcycle earlier and use it for 6 months and enjoy having a motorcycle in his life. And I know with tech as well, like I had different people as well, they were overthinking with tech, like what computer to buy, what laptop to buy, because everything is evolving so fast. But it's coming back, I guess, to why you want to buy something, and is it worthwhile to have it now in your life. And by the way, in chapter 8, I'm talking about the reversibility of decision. So whether you buy a house, a motorbike, a sofa for your house, you can buy it, and if you don't like it, you can sell it back. Maybe you are gonna lose some currency, maybe it's gonna be time, maybe it's gonna be money, but you better need to act and then to reverse your decision and change course if it was not okay. But yeah, in life we have different currency, time, money, and yes, sometimes you can't optimize everything in your life, but that's really important that you really find this balance of like thinking and taking action.
That's amazing insights. Thank you. I'm just mindful of time. There's one question that's just come through, which was, what about overthinking that isn't actually deliberate thinking and engaging with new information, but just ruminating and going in circles over and over? How do you actually, in practice, break the cycle?
So you have, so some overthinkers, they will go into rumination, and it's going to be past rumination. So, and you have overthinkers, they can be more future based, and they will go into what if scenario in the future. But the first thing, and some people, they will just daydreaming, and daydreaming, I wouldn't categorize that as overthinking. But so if you realize that you are overthinking, there is a technique that I call the 3A. First, you have to acknowledge what is this situation, what is happening, and you have to assess, how do I feel, what do I feel, and never ask yourself, why do I feel this way, but what do I feel? So you have to pinpoint an emotion, and then you have to adjust what is in your control to adjust this situation.
Awesome. Well, I'm aware that we have gone over the hour, and so I just want to take the chance now to thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone who joined us. And I hope we got through the bulk of everybody's questions, but if you do have more, please feel free to send them through, and I can try and get them sorted for you. But yeah, on behalf of everyone that joined today, thank you so much, Lison. I think it was a great session. Everyone got a lot out of it.
Yeah, thank you for Equal Expert to invite me along to have this session. It's my pleasure. And please, guys, if you like my work, you can add me on LinkedIn and subscribe to my newsletter. And by the way, if guys, because I can see in the chat that some people are going to buy the book for Christmas, I would love to receive picture of the book under a Christmas tree. Worldwide, because we have people, you know, like in Europe, we have people in Australia, everywhere in India. I love that. So that would be the best Christmas gift you could ever do to me. It's like seeing my book under some Christmas tree in different countries. I would be grateful to receive those pictures.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, thank you, everyone, and have a good day or a good evening, depending on where you are in the world. And thank you, Lison.
Thank you. Bye.